now the age of world teachers time. So we are passing the teacher development will be here now. So I want to encourage you to compete to prepare well so that you are able to win and benefit. Then when you are going to work also, you can now participate in the national competitions, which are very many. I don't want to repeat what the others have said. Now, back to the activity. This time round, we have increased the number of projects qualified nationally from now 3 of last year to 4 per category. So we shall have 4 qualifiers per category instead of 3 last year. And therefore, the competition at national, especially regional, might not be as steep as it was last year because of limited opportunities. We are also considering introducing more other categories. Next year we shall have more other categories. We are also discussing on the logistics. I want the leadership of science at various levels, right from county to observe the timeline given, so that the timeline is given for competition, so that you are not inconvenienced at any one point. We increased because of the innovation. When we have the national organizing committee meeting, we also increased the time of presentation. That is very important for us to note that we increase our time of presentation from 10 minutes to 15 minutes, so that we shall use the first 10 minutes for presentation, then 5 minutes for interaction with judges, where they can ask questions and seek for clarification. So as a background, as you train your students, you must condense information so that their presentation will be 10 minutes to allow for interaction. We have accepted the dates for competition. I want to announce that our regional competitions will be held at Moi Girls Ogoni in Vika County from 19th to 23rd. From 19th to 23rd of March. So you prepare well. We hope that some county competitions should be held before that, so that by 15th of March we get the results from the county qualifiers, so that we can plan regional competitions. Our national competitions will be held at Moi Girls, Nairobi. Our national competitions will be from 6 to 12 of April, immediately after closing the school. So I want to encourage you colleagues to prepare well for that. Now, back to the workshop. We have mounted workshops across the region in various venues. Our workshop, we started with Bukoma High School. Today we are here. Tomorrow we shall be at Vika High School in the Vika. Then we shall have a weekend break. Then after that we shall go to Kakamega on 6th for Kakamega School. Then we shall have the last workshop in the region at Ambale Boys in Busia County. So you are advantage because you are the first people ever you have never let us down. I want to commend you for previous performance as a county and encourage you to continue even do better than that, so that you have more. Why I'm saying that is that you are the best county, yes, but you can see that the beneficiaries in innovation are coming from Busia and Vika, because we didn't have quality. So let us target position 1 so that we also benefit from these other opportunities. Now, in our presentation, presentations today, we are going to, I don't know the composition of the class. We have a mixed class. And to a teacher, when you have a mixed class, it is very tricky. Otherwise, I would have said that we just take about 1 hour to do the presentation, because I've seen some people. But I've noticed that there are also some of the colleagues whom I've never met, seemingly like they have never participated in the workshops. And because of that, we shall move at a pace which takes care of everybody, so that when we move back to our sessions, we can be able to improve on our performance. We shall look at the role of the patron, because we have realized that the patron is very key in the innovations in science and technology. What we expect to be presented cannot be done by a student without the guidance of the teacher. And that is why we encourage you colleagues that as the students appreciate you or acknowledge you for supporting them, ensure that what you have given them is correct information, so that the students can also benefit as they did their presentation. Then immediately after that, we shall look at the documents used in the science lab. So we shall look at those documents, the write-up, the data file, the display board, the project, the prototype. Then after that, we shall have looked at preparations. So the next phase of our presentation will be presentation. Preparing the project, which is very good and built by your presentation. And therefore, it's very important for us to know which aspect to take care of when we are doing presentation. So I will talk about presentation, then I will talk about judging, because we are also judging process. We are also trying to as judges, so that we can be able to look for mistakes. Then we are training you as patrons, so that we can avoid mistakes. And therefore, that is what we shall do. And we hope that we shall cover this within at most 1.5 hours. So I think that is what I want to communicate for now. May I, maybe for those who don't know me, Daniel Juma, the National Assistant Organizing Secretary and the Regional Secretary. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome my co-facilitator, Mr. Pele, to start us off. Welcome, Mr. Pele.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful for today. I did want to thank because of you. You are the reason of our gathering today. Because behind you, we have thousands, young men and women who will depend on the knowledge that you are going to get today for the sake of their future. Now, our regional director of education, represented by Quality Assurance and Standard, the chairman of Western Region, Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, chief principal, Ksef, and our host principal who has already left, colleague teachers, good afternoon. Praise the Lord. Tell your neighbor, praise the Lord. And get an opportunity to know your neighbor. Sometimes we meet in town and just tukikutania wapi, pana mnakutania hapa. We are all adults. A name has got nothing more than a name, but in case it develops, you are all adults. So my name is Opeda Agri. Opeda Agri is a teacher, St. Ignatius Boys High School. I teach chemistry and physics, been in issues of science for quite some time now, from 2008, when I became the secretary of Kakamega District. At that time, up to now, we've had to go through a series of transformation. As my colleague has correctly said, I'll try my best to ensure that you hear most of the echo sounds. Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, it is the teacher in that particular school. Just like we normally say in our staff rooms, that the school is the principal, and I agree with you, the school is the principal, but again, Kenya Science and Engineering Fair is the patron. If the patron has not gained direction, you can't direct an activity in that particular school. Therefore, the training today is focusing on you as an individual to be in a position to bring up a child in the science area. And therefore, we are very serious about you. If you can do it, then together we can do it. Now, I want to talk about the role of a patron. And before I talk about the role of a patron, Kenya Science and Engineering Fair is not an event or an activity that can just take place in one day. We belong to a school that has got all cadres of co-curricular participation. I saw drama begin the activities last year. I saw rugby, I saw football, I saw basketball, I saw music. See some boys also learning how to fight karate. And Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, we picked up projects, yes, but not with the bigger other teams have. I'm happy that this has begun. Some of you may not have begun the activity. You are waiting for this day so that you start. Something which is wrong. It is a process. For those of you who participated in last year's Ksef and missed the next level, you should have continued at that point, so that we be in a position to have quality. We introduced a new area called robotics. Robotics is actually fun. I know every child will want to come up with a robot. So as we embrace this new thing, let us move together. Therefore, the question that you ask, when do you start Ksef in your schools? Some words of flat after competition. For example, the sub-county words of Ksef go flat after the sub-county competitions. The county one will go flat after county, and after nationals, almost in many words, they go flat. Why? It is because we feel Kenya Science and Engineering Fair is an activity that begins in February and ends in May. It should not be so. Kenya Science and Engineering Fair should not only involve the students of science lab. It should involve the whole school. All the students should be in a position to participate so that we come up with a correct team. And therefore, this is not an activity for one person. It is is an activity that should be conducted by the whole school. I'm very sure we have teachers in the staff room currently teaching Kiswahili CRA, but who are active in matters of Kenya science and engineering more than you, a science teacher. Bring them on board so that you can work as a team. The report of Kenya Science and Engineering Fair will be posted to you. So we want to focus on the patron. We want to focus on the patron and see what is it that a patron should be able to do. As a patron, you are involved in preparation of the Kenya Science and Engineering Fair activities. The extent the student will go depends on the extent the teacher will go. What are your roles as a patron? For one, you are a communication link between us, the school, and the students. You are the one who will carry the information from us to your student and to the principal. Remember, if you communicate positive information, the kids will be able to understand. You are also having a role to source for science fair projects for your students. I want a situation where you will be able to source for Kenya Science and Engineering Fair projects. Today being a Friday, for the support gave us, boys and girls, now go and bring projects for Kenya Science and Engineering Fair. I'll be seated in the staff room at the corner or from 4A. Please come at 4 with your projects. Then you will even forget and go away. Then you will wait when the dates for the competition are almost there. You will be the one to go on assembly and quarrel. Assemblies are not meant for quarreling with boys and girls. Assemblies are points of instruction. I say you bring projects. Nobody has brought one. Until the principal is listening, then after some time you will send a budget. The principal will tell you, hey, you talk about it. You say there is no project. It is your role as a teacher to come up with the projects. How do you come up with the projects? Number one, look at all the projects that did not make it to the nationals last year. Look at the projects that did not make it up for nationals last year and find out why they did not make it to the nationals. At least you have a backup of something that can be done. Number two, look at the internet. Look for science fair projects or ideas for grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Look for them. They are in the internet. Number three, look at the problem that you are having and look for a solution. If I am thinking that there's a problem of teaching CBC, if there was someone who could come up with a program that can embed all the resources that we know, that at the click of a button, the children will have the information, then that one will be okay. How do you get projects? You listen to social media, behavioral science, there is something that is happening in Kenya called mental illness. How can you study the behavior of a child, of a human being, and know that this person has a problem? So you also listen to media. You can also get a project by looking at the previous competitions and coming up with a modified project of another school. My community. You can also look at what other schools did and you are able to do it. Then finally, you can also get a project from your neighboring school. Like, if I have a very good project and my school has some challenges in resources, I can easily go to another school that has some resources and donate the project. I'm very sure if we did that, we will be able to initiate the science fair projects in our school. As a platform also, you need to come up with a calendar of activities. Is there a hand raised here, brother? Okay, fine. You need to come up with a calendar of activities of your school. When do you communicate information? When do you assemble the learners? When do you pair the learners into groups of participation? Which student is qualified to carry out this project or that one? I've seen a problem where we take once to communicate concepts in Form 4 for the elective effect. You're giving it to a boy or a girl who just reported to the school. The child, any slight question on photoelectric effect, the child will calmly say, Mwalimu hakutuambia hiyo. The child is innocent because you are pairing the wrong child to a wrong content. If the content is involving from one school, it can be very well articulated by modules. Even the formats will not. If the content is involving modules, it can be well articulated by Form 3s and Form 4s. It is your role as a patron to identify which content to go to which. It is your role as a patron to come up with the requisitions on time. 2 weeks to the competition, the requisition should have been done, taken to the principal for procurement of the items. Why am I talking about 2 weeks? So that the students can test the products and see that indeed the experiment is working or it is not working. If, for example, we have seen it in many schools, the requisitions are cleared at 5 p.m. In the morning, you are mounting an experiment. It cannot work. 2 weeks to the competition, as a patron, you should have everything. So you have a role in guiding and counseling of the students in the process of the competition. This is not a time when you teach and go home. No, you can't have results. Anyway, you can't have. I'm talking about getting results. I'm talking about a result that can be defended at the university. Are we there? Some results that can be defended past secondary. And you know what I'm talking about. For some of you are not willing to tell us they are being school. They are just very negative about the school. What was your means for last week? Wow, when you are a wrong teacher. Speaking, you can't dance around my baby, dance around your baby. Yeah, remember I had means of 2 in chemistry. 2 billion. How would I do this? What's wrong? But look at the MCA of the children. You just did well out there. Assuming you have 2, next day you have 3. How many people have attended interviews this year? I did. But they asking for the menstrual or improvement index. What were they asking? Tell your neighbor. They are talking about improvement index. So you can improve. And I was saying, to get an improvement, even in Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, especially in lessons, you will need to create an extra time as a platform. Be in school with those boys and girls by 6:30 in the morning. Guide them through up to around 7:30. Leave them there. Pick it up at 4:30. Go with them up to around 5:30. But if you are dealing with girls, release them a bit early. Because the girls have many challenges. And even for us who are in boarding school, it is even worse. Because they will be in class at 5, teachers are there at 5. They will break at 4:30, games are there. The program stops at 11 p.m. That's the time I pick up my boats up to around midnight. Up to around midnight and 30. That's the time now I'm releasing them to work. So that at least I can have an understand. In Kenya Science and Engineering Fair. But if this teacher who is doing many projects at home, you are struggling with 20 groups, you are telling people you have groups, I think it's not good. Do the projects of children at school. So, to portion time, you are also in the correct categories. It is the responsibility to know that this project will do well in this particular level. Therefore, as a teacher, you have a role. 1, to be there, to choose the topic, to guide the learner, to help the learners with preliminary information, to conduct rehearsals in the school, and to be there to mentor the children well. Now, what we need to do, for 1, expose the students to all the opportunities that are in Kenya Science and Engineering area. This area of robotics can easily be handled by the interest of a child who might put pressure on the parent to buy a robotic kit. I'm very sure what I'm talking about. Some parents may be very sure we have not Scout uniform. Is it cheap? It's very expensive. A full set costs about 10,000. But the child comes home and tells you, "Daddy, Mommy, I am a Scout. I need Scout uniform." It's like one day I was traveling with my apartment so the vehicle stopped. The girl came out and I was telling her, "I go to school." But she said, "Daddy, but you have not given me Scout uniform. When are you giving it to me?" So it became a concern of everybody in the vehicle, and everybody kept quiet. I thought about it. I said, "Oh, when you told me yesterday, it was just the shops are just going to open today. I'm very sure when I come back home, I'll come along with it." Then the guy said, "Oh, thank you, Daddy. Bye." You know, I was fortunate enough to that. I didn't expect that. So those were the game of mega excursion for some time. But definitely the child had the uniform. leaders involve the parents in administration of some of the projects. The schools we are talking about, private schools, they have nothing to do with the school. It's the investment of the parent. If you want to go to school, if the school is having a problem of payment of fees, organize for a trip to school. Even those who don't pay fees will be the first people to give us 2,500. I'm going to be better. They will all pay 2,500. In all the parents, they will be able to help you assist the learners. I talked about combining them. That is your role as a teacher. It is also your role to ensure that the exit is working. It is your role to ensure that the exit is working. If you fail to deliver in that area, then you will not be delivering. Spare time and ensure that it is working. It is also your duty to collect data with the student on the working exit. To be able, we are talking about automated fire extinguishers. You should be in a position to raise the temperature of the room to a particular temperature. Then the heat sensors will sense the direction of the heat and start off the fire extinguishing system in the direction where the heat is coming from. A student cannot do that. A teacher who can. You collect the data at what temperature will the system be ignited. At what temperature will it reduce a specific volume either of water or of carbon to put off the fire. And at what point will the system shut down when the fire is extinguished? You will be collecting data that can help. Then from there, it will be your role to draw conclusions as to whether you are achieving the intention or not. After you have successfully done that, it will be your role as a teacher to guide the learner in the process of filling what we call a research book. But life as many challenges for it. Sometimes the only discipline we find is when we have side meetings and in the church. So when you get someone sleeping, please do not tamper with the peace of that person. That person has found peace. So please don't expose your challenges at home, because when you sleep, I will know that you are now having peace. The evening perhaps was terror. Some of us might be terrified each other. So relax. Pressure ya peace ya kila mtu. Hata mimi kama director wewe pressure ya peace ya kila mtu, hata mimi hapa kwa nayo. Pressure ya ukosefu wa resources. Ama kuna mtu amenunua mafuta ya 150 petrol akakuja nayo hapa. It's normal. The problem is that taking it upon yourself. That's the problem you are having. And that's why you are lacking peace. And now we're going to be wote. Are we there? We are the candidates in the same economy. We are the candidates at the end of the day. Mchana akikuja, umetumia umemaliza, haujalipa bei. Sasa analete anaenda kwao. Anaenda kufanya nini? Lakini sasa uko na stress. Hizo vitu zote ni normal. Nani mwenye alipita hiyo age yenye sisi tumefika? Perhaps wewe umepita or without. So relax and let us share together. It is your role as a teacher to enable the learner to find those research, consultation, experimental, data analysis, and rehearsal will enable you to do. It is your role as a teacher to write a research report. A research report will come in the documentation of the project, which will be in 3 or 4 areas. We will talk about a writer, we will talk about display board, we will talk about a data file, and we will talk about the XD. It will be your role to help the student come up with a writer. Now you have performed the experiment is over. We now move to documentation. When we talk about a writer, it's a scientific report of the experiments done by the student. Now this report should have some specific procedure in which we will present it into. For one, we are saying the project must have been typed by using the type Roman font 12 to have double space and no graphics in that writer. Therefore, like yesterday we were asked, is it the writer will be typed? I like the answer. If you can write in font 12 times Roman, go ahead and write using your hand. Just go ahead and write. Because we are saying the writer should be written in new times Roman, font 12, double space, and no graphics. Page 1. Page 1 should have the forum and edition. I know this year we are doing year number 15. 15? Which year? If you are not last, what the students write, then add there 1. They wrote 51. Last year they wrote 59. So today they should write 50. What did they write? Go back to your memory. They wrote 58. This year they wrote 59. Right now, last time they wrote 59. So this one is 60. I think I'm confused.
58.
I'm confused because, yes? That's why I'm confused, because all answers are right in that area. Mine wrote 58. Mine wrote 58. So we are moving to 59. Are we there? So that's the forum, Kenya Science and Engineering Fair. 59 edition. Then you move into the category. You have blessed the category successfully. We have 13 of them. We have chemistry, we have biology and biotechnology. We have physics. We have engineering. We have applied technology. We have agriculture. We have robotics, and many others. We have done 7. If I was teaching this class, I'll tell you, copy from your neighbor what the neighbor has contributed. So there are 13. You go ahead and identify them. Then there is a title for the project. We are talking about photosensitive fire. Is it photosensitive fire? Talk about it. Then the presenters are talking about the children that will be presenting, the school, the sub-county, the region, and venue. That's page 2. Page 2 will have a declaration. A declaration is a statement that is written of ownership of the originality of the step you are owning the project. So, how many people will declare that? Number one, the students will declare. Number two, the patron will declare. Number three, the school principal will declare. Then we shall move to the next page, which is plagiarism. Plagiarism is a document that shall also sent to you. It will be filled in that form. You are seeing everything in that project has been acknowledged, and that you have not stolen anybody's work. Then an abstract will be written. Finally, at the end of it all, the abstract will contain the purpose of the project, the method of data collection, the observations that will be made during the process of experimentation, and then the conclusion of the experiment. And it should contain almost 250 words, or a quarter of a page. Then we shall have acknowledgements. Acknowledgements appreciate the efforts done by friends, teachers, parents to enable the project to move on. However, we are saying we discourage statements like we appreciate our patron for moral support. Moral support. We don't approve that. We don't approve that we appreciate our patron, Mr. So and so. That statement is there. What did you do to that particular child? Thereafter, we talk about the table of contents. The table of contents, which are used to the laptops that we generated by it, and the list of tables. Now, from where I have come from to where we've reached, the page will be like this one. What is this one called? This page, the one I'm pointing at. It is being seen up in number 7 inaitwaje? Is it Roman or numbers? Unajua mambo kusahau, tulikuwa tunajua kusahau. Which page is that? It is Roman, isn't it? Now, those of you who, by the way, I tend to think most of us should acquire computers. I tend to think. I also tend to think most of us should have good phones. I'm just tending to think. If your phone is more than 2 years, please give it to your child, get a new phone. Kwani hii pesa si yako, get a new one. A phone of about 20K is fine. Get a good phone that you can use this, get a laptop that you can use this. Salary yako, wewe ndio unachunga familia, jitetee kabla ukunyang'ane kila kitu. Are we there? Men, let us change shoes before they are beyond repairs. Before they are beyond repairs. So you can get yourself a nice laptop. About 50,000-60,000, you can get one and it will help you. Then let's move to the next step. Now in chapter 1, now the page changes to numbers. Number 1, 2, number 3, up to the end. In chapter number 1, we are talking about the introduction. The introduction of the project. You have what we call introduction. Number 1.0, which is introduction. 1.1, we have background information. Background information is statements that will be written that motivated the research to be done. made you start the project? What motivated you into the project? Happy Daktari, see you wherever it is. Yes, he's there with us. I know him. It's very humble, by the way. But don't just stand up and appreciate it. It's very humble. This man is having a but it's very humble. You will see him even coming to judge our projects. Very humble. They are going pesa. Kama ni pesa hafanani. But very, sitataka kuwa pesa. Yes, very humble. Baadhi yetu tulikuwa na kile nje hatungekuwa hapa. Lakini Mungu naye anakusaidia. Pia Mungu anakusaidia. So when you read anything about Pastor Green, please take this in advance, because this is what we go through. Then you will have what we call the statement of the problem. Statement of the problem is that you are not stating the objectives. After the background information, you now come up with the problem you want to solve. Like, I can easily want to come up with a problem, with a solution to the echo sound systems in this form. That's a problem we are having. The echoes are too much. The problem are the echo. How do I solve it? Then in the objective, I now say I'm able to do 1, 2, and 3. So when we are talking about objectives, there are reasons behind the problem solving. Relevance. You discuss the problem and the solutions that you have given towards the provision of a permanent way forward, the challenge that you are having. We are discussing that when we do this effectively, having done this effectively, we will be able to solve that problem. 1.5, we are talking about limitation of the study. We don't talk about limitation in terms of funds, no. Limitation in terms of time, no. We talk about the extent at which that project, for example, if you intend to have an ideal experimental setup, you may not have it. But you will have the environment that's not ideal. That's the limitation in the study. You may want to have temperature being taken at an interval of a microsecond. Therefore, you need some detectors to do that, something which you cannot achieve. So you look at the limitations. Then you look at the things you assume to enable you to conduct the study. So the assumptions and precautions that you make. So after you have done chapter 1, of course, this information we've gone through, we go to chapter number 2. Now, in chapter number 2, we are looking at the literature review. The literature review. Now, literature review is the study conducted on similar researches elsewhere until a knowledge gap is found for you to be able to fill in with your study. When we review literature, you look at similar problems, similar experiments, similar work that was done by somebody elsewhere, and the extent which they went, that you feel by conducting your research, you will solve the problem. In most cases, many researchers stop at literature review. because you thought you have something new. When you go reading, you realize that that thing was studied by somebody in the year 1976, before even you were born. So you stop at that. That explains why most of us started our masters in 205, and we are still hopeful that we will conclude. But the moment you try this study, it has been done. You try this study, it has been done. You try this study, it has been done. The friend of mine who succeeded last year doing a physics study by looking at the amount of methane gas that will be produced by various fluid wastes that can be converted into an effective source of energy. Alijaribu sana, alitumia maganda ya mapera nothing, akatumia ya ndizi nothing, akatumia ya avocado somehow, aliokota uchafu yote market for 10 years. But what was the problem of this guy? It was the instruments. Kenya did not have the instruments to analyze. The South African had. They were costing him 200,000 to have those samples studied in 30 minutes. When he raised the money and sent the samples in South Africa, he got the results after 2 hours. He was able to graduate. Bless God for him. For 10 years. So here, how do you do literature review? You do literature review in a family model. You start with the word, you come to the country, you narrow down to where you are, and see if that study will help. Literature review can also be based according to what you want to find out. We can now look at the methodology. In the methodology, you are looking at the process of being used to obtain the data. We are looking at one, the aim of the experiment. Number two, the procedures used. Number three, the apparatus that will be used. Number four, we are looking at how the data will be collected. For example, you can have a procedure that will enable you to collect more than 2 sets of results at the same time. As you are coming up with the methodology, you come up with dependent variables and independent variables. Now, dependent variables are situations that if you vary A, B will either vary inversely or directly. But independent is, if you vary A in B, there's nothing that will happen on the other variable. For example, those of us who teach chemistry, when we are discussing the Church law, which one is dependent and independent variables? Then your neighbor then first, because we are here. We are looking at heat and temperature heat and temperature being what? When you vary the temperature and volume. When we increase the temperature, the volume increases, isn't it? But what is held constant there? Pressure. So pressure is an independent variable, while the volume and heat depend on each other for their behavior. So the methods of doing the experiments should take us through all those variables. Then chapter number 4, we shall be looking at data analysis and interpretation. Shall be looking at interpretation. Now, this data should be presented according to the objectives that you had at the beginning of the study. If you had, for example, 3 objectives, we expect to have 3 or 4 sets of data that can support the arguments about that particular objective. Now, when you start presenting the data will be presented in terms of charts, in terms of tables, in terms of pie charts, line graph, and bar graphs, or any other form of data presentation that you will feel comfortable. I've forgotten even in percentages. By 5 K, for example, when I present the data first in the table, and then I do percentages in a pie chart. To me, it looks more presentable. To me, that's how I do it. But to you, there is how you will do it. As you are presenting the data, a discussion will be made after every data that you have presented is presented. You don't just have results. No. You present and discuss it the way it is according to the objective. If you realize that the result deviating away from the objective, that is no problem at all. What you're telling us is that the study would not achieve that. That will bring in the aspect of limitation of the study. To what extent should you have gone to ensure that data is correctly presented? After that, before I talk about data presentation, I forgot something small. There is what we call filtering of data. Filtering of data. You go for data that's relevant. You don't just present everything. For example, you did 20 experiments. 10 or 15 were not compliant. Discard them and pick the data that's relevant that can help you. So filtering of data is important. So after you have analyzed data, you process the data so that it makes meaningful information of the study. Colleagues, where we are reaching, if you announced on Monday that you need projects, I'm looking at a Form 1 child. Not even the focus. It needs you as a teacher. And therefore, the discussion of the results will involve all what we have done. The results should be compared to the standard value, explained or justified in the light of original aims or objectives. I'm saying that it begins the introduction of theory, related to the experiment, moves to the work carried out, the methods, the results presented. Then in chapter number 5, we will be looking at the conclusion. What was the purpose of the objective? What did you find out? Is the project significant to what you have discovered? Mention the success of the project with reference to the objective. Then you make some recommendation what is expected of you. Recommendation, you recommend an exploration of another knowledge that you are unable to solve because of limitation. I've talked about a friend of mine who did masters in 10 years because there was no instrument to measure the methane content until we went to South for assessment. Let me talk about a project that will go up international. Number one, it will have a preliminary introduction, what we'll be talking to them, how they came up with the project, how they acquired materials, the debt, first experiment, the second one, the photographs done, when they presented this topic, and when they are going to the zonal competition, they write there even the date of the zonal competition, and it should be certified by the school. If that project moves to the county, the data file is also moving to the county, where now all subsequent activities that will take place between the sub-county to the county will be in that book. Every letter, every corresponding should be put in that document. If it qualifies for the regional, I mean the date of presentation to the county will be there when it decided by the school. If it qualifies to the county, region, the same, up to the national. We have seen a blank book written on data file during competition. Just written on the data file, imewekwa hapo. Then mwanafunzi acknowledge the patron. After that, we have what we call a display board. A display board, this is a board, let me show you the dimension of this one, having 40 centimeters, 80 centimeters, and 40 centimeters. If you fold the 40 to 40, they make another face of 80. Now, this one is made of a carton box. Why a carton box? We are dealing with environmental science, recycling of resources. Carton boxes are from recycled paper. Therefore, we don't approve any other thing apart from the carton box having those dimensions. The secretary will share with you how you can get them, but I would prefer that you improvise if you can. If you can't, then you are it. But I've noted this becomes a problem to presentation because you blame principal for not giving a display board when a requisition has been done in the evening and the competitions are there tomorrow. These things are prepared for Nairobi. Please meet the competition, they must be ready. On the left-hand side, you put there the abstract, statement of the problem, and then objectives and background information. If I go back a bit, they should have from 16 above. From 16 above, so that it can be seen clearly where the people passing by will be able to see it. We don't restrict to times, Romans, you can color it, you can put margins, you can make it as beautiful and attractive as possible. Then on the left-hand side, put the abstract, statement of the problem, objectives, and then the intention. And then the middle, you put there the title, operators, procedures, variables, results, analysis of the results. And then on the right, put there the conclusion, future direction, and acknowledgement. This template for him is important. Don't buy these documents. Do it as we have advised so that it can be. Remember when we were doing congress, a school could come with Manila papers, like kuanzia hapo mpaka hapo, until other schools could have nowhere to place them. So that's the time we came up with this smaller thing to help us. I don't know if that one can be clearly seen. A school tries to make it beautiful, and that is what it is. Then colleagues, you need to have an expert. You must be working. You must be working. So ensure that any presentation you are doing, don't have. But in Western, we say no. We say you must have expert. The innovation must be able to work, and it should solve the same problem. Therefore, in conclusion, we are saying that the abstract must be a quarter-page, it must be continuous prose, and written in which first or second. We don't talk about doing it, we talk about the study. The variables must be clearly seen, the limitation and strength must be clearly seen, the discussion of the results must be clearly seen, originality and creativity must be clearly seen, and then when we talk about the literature, the literature review should be done, and the knowledge you are solving should be as a result of a gap that was discovered somewhere. Before I say thank you so much, as a concern that you want to raise, you will raise before I bring on our second facilitator. Thank you so much. Allow me to bring to us Mr. Mutoro, who will do some recap of one or two things and look at the judging process of Kenya Science and Engineering Fair. I have a challenge. One challenge that I have in Mutoro, we have done a lot of facilitation in Bungoma County. And then you come and beat us in Kakamega County and Busia County. So the people of Kakamega were telling me, what is it that you tell Bungoma that you don't tell us? I told them, I am a prophet. And Bungoma people take my prophecies very seriously. But because I belong to you, you want to ask that, can something good come from where? So that's the problem I have in Kakamega County. I am happy that you are our good disciples. Please, beat Kakamega again. Are we there? Beat Kakamega again. But they are saying, let us live where? In the field. God bless you so much. My name is Ophelia, regional organizing secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. For him, job well done. Colleagues, at this rate, I think we are on course. We are on course. We could not get anybody else other than you. And I think he has delivered a message. What we are doing is that we want to align ourselves so that we remain relevant and proud. So, Mr. Pella, thank you very much for your presentation. Colleagues, I want to do the second phase of presentation. I understand. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to my presentation with basically presentation of how are we supposed to do the statement of the problem, and which, as a judge, you have the right situation, and therefore you look at what has been presented, then you can make a decision. A statement of the problem should create focus. A statement of the problem should create focus. So, when a statement of the problem is given, there must be an element of focus. Then, a good statement of the problem will ask the following question. Let us look at the following question. When you are doing assessment of the problem, look at the following question. Who the problem affects? Who is affected by this problem? Who are the people affected by this problem? The target group. Because it's the problem we want to solve. The second question is what the outcome would be if the problem was not solved. Suppose we don't solve that problem, what will be the outcome? The third question is where is the problem taking place? Where is the problem taking place? So it means when you are doing your statement of the problem, you must bring out those aspects. And a statement of the problem that falls short of those aspects, then what are the benefits as a judge? Then the second last question is when is the problem supposed to be fixed? When is the problem supposed to be fixed? So there must be an element of time. And the last one is why is it important to fix that problem? Why is it important to fix that problem? I know you talked about those other things. I'm just giving a highlight of what you talked about, so that as a judge you are supposed to know. So that when you're writing the presentation in the write-up, you will be assessing for that. The second area I want you to look at is limitation and weaknesses. So we are insisting that the good project should be able to report what was not resolved. What was not resolved by the project. Remember, we have a problem to solve. Then, in the process of solving problems, there are certain issues which were not resolved. So, the presenter should be able to bring out what was not resolved in terms of limitation. Now, I want to emphasize something. There are certain limitations which will come directly from experimental procedures. There are certain limitations which arise from experimental procedures which must also be noted when you are giving limitations of the process. The third thing I want to talk about is about data. I want to mention something about data. Which type of data do we expect? That for any aspect of data to score a mark, it must be generated from a procedure or recognized research methods. That is very important information that we are noting from this presentation. Now, data will be looked at in the following aspects. We are going to look at data in the following aspects. One, first one is data presentation. Data presentation will be seen in terms of charts, in terms of graphs, in terms of pie charts, and various forms of data presentation, even in forms of tables. But those tables and figures and graphs must have variables being, of course, which generated data. So when you plot a graph, it must be maybe a graph of volume against pressure or fixed mass of gas. That graph must have the axis leveled properly. So that, and also when you plot a graph, the graph must meet the axis. The graphs are not, we don't accept hanging graphs. Hanging graphs, but the graphs must meet the axis. So as a judge, you will be looking at, okay, there are mixed graph. is it meeting the axis or not? Because the graphs which are highly are not exhaustive in terms of you have to extrapolate them to meet the axis. Then if they are fighters, then they must have the key. They must have the key. Bar graphs also, they must be level. So let us, all those graphs must come from the various tables. So the graphs must be plotted from various tables. Look at those tables, then at the graphs. The second aspect of the graph is the statement, what we call analysis statement. So they must give analysis statement about the graph. So when I look at this, the marking scheme, like part A, number 8, it talks about analysis. So the statement explains the various forms of data presentation. Now when you look at the statement must be correct according to the graph. Because suppose someone has plotted a graph of volume against pressure, and the graph is showing that there is when the pressure increases, then the volume increases. So it's a graph like that. Then the statement will be, the correct statement should be that there is an inverse relationship between volume and pressure of fixed mass of gas, maybe at constant. But if the statement is wrong, then you penalize at that point. Then the last one on data is discussion. How do we know that discussion statement? Discussion should give the general trend. Should give the general trend. The general trend established from various sets of data. And when they are giving discussion, they should also highlight some of anomalies. It is possible that you can be able to get results which were not anticipated. So they should bring out unexpected results from various experiments. So that once you have a discussion statement, then you can be able to make a conclusion. So that is the fourth thing I wanted to look about, that thing. Then number four is originality. I want to bring out the difference between originality and creativity. You know, as a judge, you should be able to be in a position to understand. So let me look at originality. How do we want to understand originality? Originality has two meanings in our research. Has two meanings. The first meaning is originality being looked at as what invoked the interest to research. Most of the students will talk about grandmothers, personal income. Sasa mtu akikuelezea his or her own experience, in most cases we shall accept those marks that they are because it's personal encounter. So originality is personal encounter, and therefore we should be able to accept the personal encounter. We have had cases where most of the laws, because they were established in chemistry, whatever they call in physics, and so on, they talk about the law of gravity. Someone was resting under a mango tree and a mango fruit drops onto him. So that is personal encounter. So that is the originality I'm giving. Then the second definition of originality is the approach. The approach given. Is new. Is it new? Is the design new or not? Now, I want you to appreciate that sometimes it might not necessarily be new, but it is possible that something can be modified so many times and it looks good. So I want us to look at the second definition also as the modification as a measure of originality. The degree of modification as a measure of originality. To what extent has it been modified? Then, lastly, I want to look at creativity. How do we look at creativity? We shall be looking at creativity as a measure of how the selection of materials, a measure of how the selection of materials was done. Remember, the project is about we shall look at how the students selected for development of the experience. And therefore, it means that when we are doing that, it means that we shall be looking at the experience, the choice of materials. I'm saying that creativity because use of materials, it will involve even improvisation involved, and even precision. Because when we are coming up with a wheel, for example, a wheel, why do you make it circular and not rectangular or whatever you are doing? And why is it maybe the driving gears bigger than the small? So that kind of choices. So colleagues, those are the things I wanted to mention as an indirect, so that we look at the presentation. So that now we look at presentation. I'm aware that now you are training the students as patrons. Now you are taking to a church. You already know what can easily confuse you in terms of technical terms or easy interpretation to make judgment. And therefore you will be able to judge. But what do we expect the students to talk about in 10 minutes? 10 minutes is a very short time. So, colleagues, I want to encourage you. First, the choice of presenters is very important as a partner. Because choose people who can be able to communicate. Choose students who can be able to communicate the best. Because the project is as good as the presenters. And invention can begin because of poor communication. Now, we are expecting at least 1%. So 2 or 1% per project. So when you choose, I would advise you to choose at least 2, to choose 2 presenters, so that in case one of the presenters has a problem, the project can still be presented. Because we shall not allow a situation where the presenters are changed in the process of presentation. So be sure that you pick 2 presenters. Now the first thing that they will do, I told you that the presentation will be 10 minutes, then there will be interaction. Now what will also be happening, because we are training as judges, we are advising the judges to move where the students are displayed. Because it's difficult for the students to move the experience and the display. And therefore, it's the judges who will be moving from one point to another. From one point to another. And because of that, it means that once they set up their setup, you will be able to go there. Now, presentation will be done this way. The first thing they will do is introduction. Number 1 in their presentation is introduction. Now, introduction has 2 aspects. The introduction to expect has two aspects. The first aspect of the introduction is self-introduction, where the learners will introduce themselves. So we expect self-introduction, and maybe the student will say his or her name. Then the student should also say his level, class, at that level, maybe a form 1, form 2, like that. Then after doing the introduction, they will do the second introduction, is introduction of the project. They will state the project title. After stating the project title, they will also state the level, maybe if it is a sub-county or a county, what we normally give the edition. Maybe if it is 9th edition, they should be able to state edition. Why are we asking the students to introduce themselves, then introduce themselves? We as judges, we are looking for two things here. At self-introduction, we want to confirm if the presenters are the actual owners of the project, because we already have their details. The details is written documents. We want to confirm. Because if you have linked some of the letter of the presenters, we are going to introduce properly. And the matter is analyzed, I think it might be different from what is recommended. Then at that point, we should know that there is change of presenters in that way. Now, why the second introduction? Why the edition? Why are we giving the edition? It's very easy to know the project which is being repeated. Some of the people think that the edition is very important component that is duplicated. And there are a project which was presented in maybe the 54th edition. And Africa is part of the information which should be in that project. Not only the 54th edition. You are this project is repeated. It was presented as a judge should be ready on that. The information you are giving is not just public relations exercise. Now, after introduction, they will give a statement of the problem. And colleagues are trying to emphasize what should be captured in the statement of the problem. You as a judge, you are going to look at that. But remember that detailed statement of the problem is in the writer in chapter 1. But they will mention during oral presentation. Mentioning of the statement of the problem, it makes the student demonstrate that they understand the challenge they want to address. And therefore, we shall expect the student to do it the way we have prescribed briefly by trying to see where is the problem, who are being affected, to what extent, and how they want to address it. In keeping the statement of the problem, they will also mention the attempt made. The attempt made to address the problem and the gaps which their project wants to address in oral presentation. So we should be very keen on that, to note that. Then after that, they will state the objectives. Because when they want to address this problem, which objective you want to address, so that in the process of achieving the objectives, you have addressed the challenges that you are facing. And we are insisting that the objectives must be smart, let them be specific, measurable, attainable, and time bound. We don't expect students to say that they do not be able to achieve objective 1 or 2 because they didn't have time. They are supposed to set objectives which are attainable within the desired period. I'm doing this colleagues because it will be very easy to the market once we understand what is expected of us. Then, after the objectives, we call to workability, the workability of the project. The workability of the project. When the students are doing their presentation, the following things will be taken place. They will be referring to the display board, pointing at specific points on the display board, and another presenter will be manipulating the exhibit. So that if we talk about do this, then the other one does it. Then at the end of those things, we must be able to see the result. But we shall have cases where someone will present not refer to the display board. Display board is the web and yet the purpose of the display board is to facilitate presentation. So that is why we have a display board there to facilitate presentation. And therefore the student must be able to refer to that one. Colleagues have already mentioned to you that we change the time for presentation to 10 minutes, then 5 minutes interaction, which you know. Now the students will talk about the requirements, and the colleagues I want you to be very keen here. There is something that I want you to be very keen as a judge. One is that we have requirements for assembling an exhibit. Then there are requirements for executing a certain procedure. So the project exhibit might be one of the requirements to carry out the mission. Maybe you assemble something. But now this exhibit is now there. Now they talk about what it was meant to do. Let us separate between the requirements for assembling and the requirements for executing the procedure, so that the results will be based on the results that we expect. The observations that we expect will be based on the experiments which will be carried out practically there. But if their purpose was to assemble a machine, then they should tell us what they require. Now the machine becomes the main thing. So let us get the difference so that they don't mix out that procedure. Now, as the grant is that the list of operators should be complete and it should be specific. Complete and specific. So that if they say they require 4 fingers, they will tell us whether there are 100 fingers, whether plastic or glass. So that when they talk about they require maybe 5 glass fingers, and you don't see any glass finger anymore, then they now take a finger, then put water in the finger, then heat, not the temperature after every 5 minutes. That one is cold because you have a plastic finger which will not be able to boil water. Some of them, when they talk about timing, they got time and they don't have a stopwatch. So that is why omission of the requirements cannot be able to get the time we are talking about, and therefore the zeros will be many. So let us assume completeness of the operator. Then the procedure must be logical. The procedure must be logical and complete. It's all steps like that. Then after that, the results. Now the results, we have results. You know, results are very many. There are sources of the result which come from the data file after various experiments. There are certain observations which they will make as a result during their presentation. So we have every after procedure, there must be observations. Every after procedure, there must be altercation, which will be taken as a result. But now we have conclusion. Now conclusion, there might be several conclusions. Kuna conclusion yenye mwanafunzi atamake based on the result in a sample development, and we have overall conclusions. So let us take the difference between the result based on observation. For example, if the student says that when you add this one, it will change from blue to green, then now, if it changes to green, then the conclusion is like this. Then the student now will give the overall conclusion of the project. So that is the process. But now, how is the conclusion supposed to be done? The conclusion should be based on the data. In fact, the objective, so we must have specific data for each objective, so that each objective can be validated, accounted for using data, so that the conclusion is met based on the extent to which the objective can be achieved. Now, a good conclusion will talk about the findings and how the findings have impacted, address the problem, and if there are any shortfalls, then they should be able to say, the limitation. And you don't just say the limitations and stop there. They should recommend possible solutions to address that. And then when you look at the market, we are going to look at those, how to address those issues. So I think that is about presentation. I'm very brief, within 10 minutes. Now, we have done presentation. Now we go to marking skills. How are we going to judge the project? How are we going to judge the project? I'm aware that we have given the marking skill guide as one of the interpretation guide. But I'm aware that the guide is in form of bulletin and might not be able to address specifics. So I'll help you with the interpretation. Then I might go to the nitty-gritties, all of them. Some of them I'm going to rush through because we can read. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to post the soft copy of the presentation on your wall, so that you can refer to it when you retire at your own convenient time. So the marking scheme has not been changed. For those who have judged before, we are using the same marking scheme. The marking scheme consists of 3 sections: Section A, B, and C. Section A will be basically on written documents. Section A will be basically on written documents, and those are basically 3, which are about the data file, the writer, and then the business report. For part B is oral presentation. Part B is oral presentation because Part B will be basically the communication skills. Basically, you will be judging students on communication skills. And a student can communicate correct information in a correct way, and also communicate wrong information in a correct way. And therefore, it means that when you are judging Part B, you just look at communication, not the accuracy of the information given. Then we shall judge the accuracy of the communication in Part C. The message is given. Unajua watu wengine anapeana wrong information, anapeana vizuri na elewa kisoro. Na kuna mwingine anapeana correct information vizuri kama anaelewa it's correct. But kuna mwingine anapeana correct information but vibaya kama umeelewa kama iko correct. So we don't punish these children for giving, for communicating the wrong information in the correct way, so that they are able to understand that it's wrong. So we shall award them separately like that. Then you might see will be based on your own assessment as a judge, in your opinion. Was it done correctly or not? So let me now go to the magnitude. I'm not going to go through all those points. Number one, part A is on the right hand. Now, if it's on the right hand, colleagues, I want to say it is as prescribed in the guide. See, that's okay. The guide, interpretation. I'm going to mention where we have made changes. So it is as interpretation of the writer will be considered to be there, to be not there. And if it's not there, it is if the writer is there physically, it might not be there also, depending on the conditions, these conditions. It will be considered not to be there, even if it's there, when it has not been declared. There is no declaration, and there is no plagiarism. So, Wangalia page 2 and Roman 3. So, if they are not there, then we give 0. If plagiarism and declaration is done correctly, then that writer will go to one mark already. Then the second mark you can give. You can give for placement, for right title. It discusses about the writer. He said what should be the preliminary worksheet. So if they are done correctly up to chapter 5, then you give the second mark after 2 marks. The writer. Now, there is a question I will expect you to ask. Maybe let me answer it before. How do you use, if you say the writer is not there, you have given 0. And it's not there because it is there, but it is not declared. Do you go ahead and use it? Yes, you use it for subsequent. We are just punishing a student for not following the right procedure, not declaring, not plagiarism of it because it's a requirement. But once it's there, then you can still use it to mark subsequent lessons. A student who doesn't have a right to read all the other marks. But if you have it, but it is not there because of technical. So it means that when you give a 0 at number, then number two, I want you, the mark is split. This mark is split, number 2. The first mark is for evidence of background research, which is in chapter 1, the first item 1.1. 1.1 is background information, and so you should be able to look at that. Now, if you get background information to give us the historical view of the problem, So if it's done 1 mark, then the second mark will be for arrangement of the items in chapter 1. There are those items in chapter 1 arranged, like for example, chapter 1 is introduction. So the first item will discuss background information. Then 1.2 is statement of the problem. Then 1.3 objective, like that. If it is discussed in that order, then you give the second mark for a total of 2 marks. So it's possible that one can get 0 or 1 or 2. Now we are going to give halves in our discussion. from the level of family household, we are not giving half. So we shall be advised otherwise later when we are supposed to give half. So no half in our allocation. Number three, you can only judge it using during oral presentation. You can also judge it during oral presentation. That's written language. So look at the written language. Written language within the subject area. The subject is so look at the language. The judges are especially in that subject. So you look at the language within the subject area. I think number 3 has not been presented. You can score. Number 4, I want to clarify. Number 4. Number 4, on your guide, they have talked about objectives. We are only awarded for objectives, stated objectives. What are the stated objectives, even if they are not smart? But we are the kind of provisions for objectives as a requirement when you are doing the plan. They are compliant, so we keep. We shall penalize part C for objectives in part C1 when the objectives are not correctly done. We shall penalize. I'll say, I'll specify that. Maybe at this point, colleagues, I need to mention something that which I think I'm sorry I didn't mention. I want to advise you that we shall give you all the manuscripts. We shall give you part 1, part A, part B, part C. And all manuscripts. So at the level of the region, I can talk about at the level of the region. We shall have a program having all the qualifiers with their serial numbers. So you take a serial number and record the manuscript that is where you give a registration number. Then after capturing the registration number for that particular presenter, you can now note the details of that presenter on all manuscripts. So that when you are scoring for part A, you can also score for part C, that particular presenter. How are you going to do it? You know all of the messages are very quick. So it is easier for you to score for part A and some of part C, which are very clear from written. So that some of the part C, which is not clear in written, you will always score after they are presented. Now, even on the presentation, on our experience here, you can wait until you ask a question, then you can score. So don't rush to zero, especially where there is provision for recovery through oral presentation. So you will score. Maybe when I go to see, I'll mention some of the basic and score when you are looking at part A, so that you know when you are judging, you're able to do that. And the maximum objective is on the display, 1 mark, in the right hand 1 mark, or 2. So a student can get a 0, meaning no provision of no objective completed anywhere, or get 1 or get 2 marks. Number 5, very important. Number 5, very, very important. Now that we are taking something, it becomes very tricky. But I want to mention this. That colleagues, number 5 is very important. That if there is an omission on the requirements, especially requirements which is required to execute our procedure, it means the result will not be valid. Because if you are missing an item where you are complaining about missing the stock, then you are not very qualified. So it means anything. When number 5, how to mark number 5? The mark is split. 1 mark for materials and procedure or method on the display, and 1 mark for materials and procedure or methods in the right hand. On a display board in the right hand, 1 mark. But now, how come 0 is coming? When there is a commission on requirements, a 0 comes, then it will affect a procedure, because it's not possible to execute that procedure without some items. Now, when number 5 gets 0, then the following will get 0. When number 5 gets 0, the following should be 0. Number 7, part A, number 7, 0. Part 8, part A, number 8, 0. Part A, number 9, 0. Then, those zeros will continue. It goes to part 6. Now, part C, part C, number 6. Number 6 will get 0 because it's dealing with data. And data will get 0. Part C, number 6 will get 0. Then, part C, number 9, the whole of it will get 0. Because it's not possible to carry out demonstration without some apparatus. You can see the effect. And any student who misses a mark with number 5 will miss a minimum of 18 other marks. And 18 marks knocked out the project completely. So as a background, you must go to the record there. And as a judge, a 0 and number 5 must be properly accounted. But don't fear keeping 0 when you it's due. As long as we are able to account for it. I think number 6 is not variable. Also, we have changes there. I want you to make a change there, number 6. But we are just giving marks for part A for identifying correct variables. For identification of variables, for identification of correct variables as independent and dependent variables. Both on the display board and in the right. Then the second mark, we shall look at the APS system of management. We have doing this, we have given copies, our set of copies of APS references, so that you can look at them and know how to rank them. But basically, we expect them to have this alphabetical order, being the basic APS system. They are all down, and then other name, the third name, other name, the year of publication, the title of the day, and underline and underline. So they choose it. Then for the second one, if it means APS system. Then number 13 is for acknowledgement. Why is acknowledgement? Acknowledgement for it all, wherever it be, it must be specific and relate to their certain words of the time. So kama wanafunzi we acknowledge wewe kama judge for giving them chance to do their presentation, for being fair, for being fatherly or motherly, whatever. With those very good words, give a 0 for that acknowledgement. The acknowledgement of judges just supplementary. Amendment of judges is supplementary. So we should look at the monitor of acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement is page number 5 in the writer, page number 5 in the writer, and you should be able to get it. On the poster of the last part, there is a summary acknowledgement. On the poster, they will not acknowledge everybody, but there will be some for acknowledgement. Then number 14 on the display board. When we don't score 0, we only score 0. I want to say that there is an amendment on the display board from our interpretation. There is an amendment there. I want you to know the changes there that we shall take a 0 for a display board which is not made up of cardboard boxes. Out of the display board which is made up of gold, then we will get 0 first. Then we can. The reason we shall give is that not made up of cardboard boxes. Then we can use it for other scores in other places. So give a 0 if it's not made of cardboard boxes. Now, if it is made up of cardboard boxes, then it will be for 1 mark. Then the second mark will be placement of posters in the right position from left to right as already discussed. So placement of posters in the right is correct, so that we don't if the first item is upfront, the second of the problem objectives, background information, then the middle plan like that, all the way up to the last where we are breaking the computation. Then the last one so for this playbook, we can get 0 or 1 or 2. That's number 15. Number 15, he talked about the data. Data type is a very important document because it is the first evidence to show that research was taking place. It is from the data file that we write a fair copy of the research file, which is manifested in the name of a writer. And that file is very important. We are aware that the research must be planned, and for the research must be planned for 2 reasons. When you plan for research, you will take care of the precautions. Some precautions required, you will also take care for the vision of the requirements. So that when you plan also, you will create time. And you know that for you to be able to carry out that research, you know it requires a long period of time. So the first item in the research file should be the research plan. If it has no research plan, the data file gets 0. Then if there is a research plan is set and activities lined up and it's planning for the future, so it's written in the future tense. You will on this particular date. So that when you carry out the development, you can be able to fulfill that step. In fact, it's coming. You record the result. Now, how do we keep the second mark of data? We keep the data file if the data was collected according to the research. If it was collected according to the research. Because we require this collected, and if there are any amendments on the plan, capture the amendments on the plan. Because now the plan experiment allows to realize what the results we are getting are not normal. So you restrict the experiment under the conditions. So the research plan can be taken. When you change a research plan, you can improve on the research plan as you continue. Kama umetoka kwa sababu unaenda kwa sababu the way you play, give improvement. quick on your project, and therefore you have amendment of the design. And it should be over a period of time. It's whoever was not in Macon. You remember the size of Macon was born on a Monday, one week is done. We don't want such things. Kind of research. Well, for a reasonable period of time, minimum 3 months, those things should spell it. Now, that is part A of the matters. Now, part B is on communication skills. And the same communication skills is either one or two. We want to judge communication skills against 1%. Against 1%. Don't say that we presented the Julian against we are one. Let us take against 1% because we shall be disadvantaged until we are school presenters. And already I said that should use presenters who can communicate. So I will not repeat those first one. First one is easy. You can read and understand. Number 2, you can read and understand. Number 3 is very clear. Move where they are. So number 4 is very clear. Number 5 is very clear because I explained the subject specialist there. So I want to mention about number 6. Number 6 is not easily abused. Number 6 is here in part B. Now, when the students are doing oral presentation, I say they have the experience, they have the display board, they have the data platform. In their presentation, they might use the display board and the experience, not necessarily the writer. They might have some information they have, which is included in the writer when they have presentation. And then you, as a judge, you will be able to have the writer so that you can confirm the facts as they do presentations. Now, I say that you can score for part A and part B at the same time when you are doing digital communication. Then, if it is not clear, you can ask questions. So it means that we must ask questions. We must ask questions. Now the question will be tested on communication skills. And therefore I expect you, when you ask a question, and as a student is quiet, the student is quiet when you start asking the question, and continues being quiet, and remains quiet. How many marks does that student get in part B? Number 6. Part B, number 6. The student will get 1 mark. Isn't it? For listening. For listening. Then if the student responds, then you give the second mark at that. Because communication requires listening and responding. Then now, how do you now? What was the purpose of asking the question? Now, depending on the response, you can now score in maths where you are seeking for clarification. Supposing a student will ask a question, then the student says, I don't know. How many marks does this student score? And B. 2 marks. Where we want to seek clarification so that we can award. So a student, because a student who says I don't know is very intelligent, he knows that he doesn't know. So if you want so those are very high level resources which you should understand. Now, suppose a student responds to your question correctly, then this student should negate the 2 marks and continue getting other marks elsewhere. Where you are seeking for testing mastery of something or whatever. Then when we are asking questions, we are reading now the blank but was remaining, which has not been resolved. So you can give zeros or one, depending on how they are responding. I think number seven is clear, not flow. Flow from introduction up to conclusion. That is the way we look at it. Then number 8 is very important. Colleagues, we have students mention limitation. But if they don't, they can give us 0. So we give 0 or 2. 0 identify limitation. Wengine wanasema they don't have limitation. Their project is perfect, very good. They don't have limitation. So our elements is good. So when you appreciate limitation, it means that you understand the project. So we appreciate that we should be able to give. Then recommendation, we are also giving for making sure you give recommendation verbally during the oral presentation. So you can give number 2. And we are making recommendation for improvement, not for adoption. Adoption is a core. We recommend the government to take up the project and implement so that they can help people who are available. The project are not different that level. They are very levels of education. Where we now apply in a small area, we get the result we can expand so that those stages, the way you look at stages of curriculum, also the research, you apply in one area, someone to apply on that scale. So it's not at that level. Then last one, authenticity. Authenticity is when they do acknowledge. The moment you acknowledge, it means that you claim ownership. Authenticity is about ownership of the idea. And if you have been supported by other people, then you must appreciate them so that you are safe. You are safe in creating their information equals so that you claim ownership of the project. Otherwise, when you want to claim for patented right, when you want to look for patented right of the information, you will be questioned. There will be petition because of stealing or blatant of knowledge from other people. So we must be able to appreciate the sources. So that is part B. Then part C. I will say that statement is very important for next statement there, and I know that part is overall assessment. And let me repeat this that the major question in this section is this, that it was written. Where was it written? In the writing, in the data file, in the district report. And it was talked about during the oral presentation. So it has been done. In your opinion, as a child, was it done correctly or not? And that's why we understood the law. So we know we expected IT education. There will be people attempting to move towards the IT. So to what extent are these presenters moving towards the IT? So you can rate them. Too close, still at the starting point, at the mutual towards the IT institution. And therefore, I want to judge the following. You will judge the way forward. When you are judging part A, you will also judge the following parts in part C. You can tick them, those ones which are affected, so that it's very easy to make a decision there. If you cannot make a decision, then wait. But don't keep us looking at it. You will judge number 1. Number 1, where we should be talking about The objectives in chapter 1, we are now looking at the objectives were given. The objectives were stated. We gave the marks of objectives, and by the end, 4, we gave the marks. But was it done correctly? So we look at the smartness of the objective. Are they smart or not? Then we can make a decision. But when you are looking at written communication, you can still award the objective if they are smart and that. So you can still award. Then number 2, you can still award. You can still award number 2. But I want to maybe to say something about part C2, the background information. How you are told. If you look at it, they are talking about introduction, stroke background information. Now, introduction, the whole of chapter 1 is introduction, and then background information is part of introduction. So we separated because background information is very important. It shows that you understand where the problem is and what it is. And you can qualify that when you are doing reviews in literature. And therefore, it means that we separate background information 1 mark, then we give introduction, where you are covering all aspects. Background information is the first one, separate problem 1.2, like that. Was it done like that? No. So that we can be able to wait our mark number 6. So, which means that this one can still be done looking at written communication. Number 3 and 4 can be done. You have to wait for all presentation. Number 5 can be done. Number 5 literature review can be done on chapter 5, chapter 2. Just look at chapter 2, the review, the covers, existing knowledge, the covers, then the scientific approaches, you want to move new innovation, then the use projects, the benefits you expect from the new innovation to bridge the gap. So those components of innovation must be brought out. Then you can be able to award. Then for number 6 you wait. Number 6 you wait. And then the presentation goes presentation is to collect data. Number 7 you wait. You don't show number 7 and then they do all presentation. Because number 7 is on manipulation of variables. We should see the manipulation and how the data is enhanced from manipulation. Number 8, you can score. Maybe I can finish number 8. Number 8, statement of originality. It's the first definition of originality. First definition. So all presenters in most cases will get the mark for number 8 because it counts, personal count. So your mark is going to but in most cases, your mark is poor. So that amesema aliona it's true. Maybe you think about something. Then unamwambia kwa namba 11, why the first one to dream or not? Or you dream after other people friend. Kuna watu wa kuona ndio baadaye. So if you dream yes, nakubali unaweza you can dream an idea. But why the first one? So hiyo originality ya kwanza tunapeana, then number 11 number 11 part C tunapeana. It is not the information. Is it true or not? So we can mark number 10. We can mark number 10 and pick number 10 because that is multiple issues. What is being addressed in the project is the problem that exists, and therefore that one in most cases will still even the multiple issues can be seen from the project title. Because we say they are addressing things, and every project we are addressing something. So hakuna vile unapenda lazima. If one of them anaongea mambo ya triggers, and maybe technology of soap is one of the oldest technology. And therefore, it means that we look at the innovation of the shop. And I have to which is very easy to hold. The size of this hole. The size of this hole. Somebody ya kuoga. Sasa wewe unaangalia sabuni. Ukioga, badala ya kuchukua sabuni, unachukua na ilalia. Na mwingine anakuja na sabuni ndogo zaidi for easy manipulation. Even the shape of so don't look at soap as an innovation can be an idea. Even the shape of the bottle. The shape of the bottle. Wengine wananunua soda because of change of the shape. Rebranding. So we should be able to know the innovation being introduced and be able to address that. So the issue of originality, that is what I want. Then originality, creativity. Number 12 and weight, because it requires effort. Number 12 and requires effort. Now, let me highlight the following areas in part C. Highlight. I'm just going to highlight the following areas in part C. So part C, the first area I want to highlight is number 4. Let me highlight number 3. Number 3 very important. Number 3, you are going to score using the exit on. The exit on. So, if the student has no experience, you give 0. If the student has an experience and is not working, you give 1 mark. The purpose of having, we are already level. The purpose of having an experience was for it to work. Now, if you can work, so we can give 1 mark. Then now, the second, if it works partially, you give 2 marks. And if it works fully, the way they explain that you have to do this and then you will see it too. You will see it too to some extent and others now. So you can be able to make a decision. Number 4, subject necessary will also be considered from all of them. Therefore, you can be able to judge. Now, we look at accurate. The information must be accurate first. The information must be accurate. Then the second is for detail. Because colleagues is possible for someone to give. Is it possible for someone to give detailed wrong information? So the starting point should be accurate. Then we look at now the information is it detailed. How do we assess whether the information is detailed? We shall refer the objectives. Are they what the objectives being addressed or not? So you can be able to make a decision there. We have written statements there. Now I want to look at number 6 also. Number 6 on data. I want to emphasize that data must be scientific. And I want to mention something, maybe about the end of time, because that is where the issues are. Maybe I think there are challenges in finding the data. Now we understand, okay, we understand strictly for animals. And therefore, according to the ethics of the exact not carry animals through, and therefore it means that we shall carry, especially animals to the competition zone. Don't be planning blood extracts or extract from animals. Don't carry. For behavioral science, we have what we call qualitative statistics, qualitative data. We use qualitative data, not quantitative data. We look at qualitative data and quantitative data we are able to interview from media, and we don't do that with everybody. We interview. people who are specialized. If you are looking at behavior changes in a human being condition, then we need a psychologist. You don't need a people at market but we should get a psychologist who can give us what is the implications of that trend and so on. You can accept photographs showing the changes and the followed by the big areas. Conditions, we also accept recorded. If there was any communication, then recorded communication as a video, delivery showing the changes, video delivery we accept. We also accept questionnaires. As long as the questionnaire is designed to address specific issues there. So the issue of data, we must have sufficient data. And this applies to robotics. For robotics, somebody will say now where we get data. Where is the data? Where are we getting data from? For robotics to be carried out, we have missions to accomplish. You can collect data about assembly of the robot, designing the robot when you are assembling, to customize the assembly specifications you want to accomplish. Because we remember something will build something from something without arms. And then just application design assembly. Then also when you are executing mission, you will do it several times until when you get perfect execution. And then it's a process. Even creating sensors, putting the sensors in that, the issue of manipulation in terms of angles, time, so you should be able to do that several times when you get there. And then of course it involves that process, just like other 12 categories which you will make. So I want you to look at that sufficient data for each objective. Then correcting originality of our question. I want to look at number 9. Number 9, the first part of number 9 is operator. Now operator is supposed to complete list of requirements and specifications. Was the list complete with specifications? 2. Then we look at procedure. Was the procedure complete and logical? We give the other part. So you will do that. Then after that, we shall now, the last mark, correct the illustration, we shall score against the experience. So to the way we score number 3, that is the way we shall score bulletin 3 number 9. Then I think number 12 is on the level of improvisation. Let's look at the degree of improvisation as creativity. So that number 13, you will look at the workmanship of the finish. If you develop look at the finish. Look at the experience. How is it? Look at the finish. So the quality of the finish for each. So for instance, at the end of my presentation, in terms of